Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. The unemployment rate officially in this country is below 5%. And if you talk to employers, they're struggling to fill those top jobs, those skilled jobs that require unique talents. Joining me now, Jolene Risch, the founder, and Nadine, Jett, the director of recruiting for Risch Results. Did I pronounce that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And you are one of the top recruiting companies in the country. How did this all start? Let's start with you.
Yeah, it started about 8 or 9 years ago. I worked for Ernst & Young, then we became Capgemini Ernst & Young, and my background's in organizational behavior. So I worked in their people group, always interested in how people can work together effectively. And after about 7 years, I took a leave of absence to do some nonprofit work. And during that time, people asked me to help them with various people-related, HR-related projects, including recruiting. Now, I hadn't officially done recruiting at Ernst & Young. I had helped in the process. So when I helped in the process, I did interviews. As a manager, we were asked to help in different parts of the process. When people would ask me to help them find people, the key was not just the interview process, but where do you find these amazing people? How do you find them? Well, the market's changed a lot since then, both in terms of, related to what you're saying, the kinds of people out there and helping employers find the best talent for their companies. And also the way we find people is very different. We have so many great solutions for finding great people.
Let's, on that note, let's bring in Nadine. How do you find the great people?
Well, most of our great candidates are found working for other great companies, to be honest. So we very rarely have to advertise or do advertise for positions. So we contact individuals directly at their employers via LinkedIn, other kind of social media platforms as well. We're digging around finding the best performers, and that's a lot different than running an ad trying to find people who are job seeking.
And I know there are a lot of recruiting companies that they just want to get somebody in the seat, and that's not enough, because if you get somebody in the seat and they fail or they don't even pass the job interview, you as a recruiter don't last very long, do you?
Correct.
No, and it costs the company time and money to go through the recruiting process, to find the right person. And so we try very hard to put in front of them the best of the best, so that when they're deciding who they want to choose for their organization, they have some great people to choose from. But if those people aren't in front of them yet, we keep digging, as Nadine says, until we find the right person for their position.
What are some of the industries that you guys specialize in, and what kind of candidates are the toughest for you to find?
Honestly, right now, accounting is very, very hot. It's really tough to find tax accountants and experienced accountants. So that's pretty much right your ticket, because companies and firms, CPA firms particularly, are looking for accountants that they're just not there in the market. So additionally, sales, any kind of outside sales and inside sales positions, product, services, construction, any of it, it's very, very hard to find those experienced individuals.
Can you pretty much tell on the phone within the first 30 seconds whether or not somebody would be a good candidate or a bad candidate?
I wouldn't say 30 seconds, but I would say, a 30-minute conversation, and yes, I know whether they're going to be the good candidate or not, yes.
And Jolene, do you guys track your success rate? I mean, after saying, okay, to this company, we've got your candidate, is it greater than 50% that they're successful?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's very, very rare that we have to replace candidates. Look, people are people, and often they're hard to predict. And we have, at times, had to replace people. But it's very rare, probably less than 10, 15% of the time we'll have to replace somebody. To go back to your question about the areas that we focus in, as Nadine said, some of the areas we focus in, sales and marketing is number one for us, accounting and finance and HR. And the reason those are the areas that we focus in is exactly what she said, because it's so hard to find good people. You need a recruiter to be able to go in and source folks who are already doing very well where they're currently working.
And as the economy improves, it gets tougher and tougher. I mean, was it a lot easier for you guys back in like 2009, 2010, or was nobody hiring back then?
Yeah, I mean, you go through ebbs and flows, whether it's a candidate market or an employer market, you go through ebbs and flows. I mean, the truth is, even if it's an employer market, you're still needing to find the best people. So really the process doesn't change too much.
Let's talk about advice to young people. Every once in a while, you'll see this person graduating from college with a poetry degree or something. I mean, there's not a lot of call for poets these days, is there?
No, there's not. And I think real world experience is critical. I mean, degrees are great, and people and companies want employees that have backgrounds in degrees, but what they really want is real world experience. So any kind of internships and working in a real world environment beats, honestly, Starbucks or McDonald's, because they want something that's going to be practical, that they can come in and hit the ground running in an organization.
Why don't we give some advice to young people? Because I know that one of the we've worked with different clients, and one of them was an etiquette expert and said, these young people are just not getting any manners lessons or what to say during a job interview. And so, what advice would you give to a young person about to go out for their first job interview?
Well, I would say in terms of the first job interview, to practice. That I think that's important, either in front of the mirror, in front of a friend, in front of your mother or father. Practice. Ask someone to ask you some questions so that you can answer them in short, sound bites.
Right.
So you're not going on and on forever. Also, I would say listen carefully to what the person is asking you. And, I would say for employers, remember that this is your time to learn about the person. So for employers, my advice would be to ask those questions and really take advantage of the time the candidate is in front of you. Try to avoid going on and on about your own career and your company. Use the time to really learn about the person and ask follow-up questions.
What about old-fashioned thank you notes? Is that
Love
still?
it.
Yeah.
I love
Yes, definitely. Still, follow up with a thank you note or a thank you email is really showing a lot of being aggressive and wanting the position.
And one of I think, with your attention to detail and making sure that you're getting the best candidate for the job, you have companies that you've been working with for years. Isn't that right?
That is correct. That is correct.
And so they'll keep coming back to you over and over again. So, okay, now we need this person now.
Yeah, we become a bit of a one-stop shop. So I mentioned some of the areas we do the most work in, but we really do become a one-stop shop. And I think the reason for that and the reason companies come back to us is because we really take the time to get to know the culture of the organization, the people within the organization, what their process looks like. That's really important to us. Again, it's, you were talking to about the banking industry before. In any industry, it's not just the skills, but are you going to be a cultural fit?
Right. Now, there's a kind of a knock on millennials these days that they are job hoppers, that they just, it's not like go to a company, work for 40 years, get the gold watch anymore. For millennials, I'm told that the average time at a company is like a year and a half. Is that about right, Nadine?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Particular jobs and industries can be, more prone to that. Consulting, for instance, and you're not going to see major longevity typically with a candidate. However, you'll still see people who stay 5, 6, 7 years at positions, and honestly, that's a big plus. That's going to be a big deal to an employee that you show some longevity somewhere and that you're willing to, stay and work a while. And
when you're talking to these candidates, because I think this would be a lesson for employers on how to keep employees happy, and you're talking to them about possibly greener pastures, what are they saying? When they leave, why do they leave?
Their manager. The number one reason somebody leaves a position is the relationship with their manager. And I would also add to that the understanding of what is in the future for them. People want to understand that they can do more within an organization than what they're doing right now. So what kind of development opportunities are there for me? And a great example is there is somebody we're working with right now. He actually is about to turn in his notice to work at a different organization. He's been there 15 years at this one company. So he actually loves his manager. So it was very, very hard for him to decide that he wanted to leave. But for him, it became a matter of what's in the future for me? What else can I do? And we talked to him a lot about all of the possibilities of advancement and leadership in his next position.
How important is money? Because I noticed when I asked you that money didn't come up. You just talked about managers and relationships. Do you find that money is less important than it was when I was coming up or you were coming up?
I think that that most companies are competitive when it comes to salary. It's a very tight market. Everybody knows what everybody else is paying people. So that is pretty easy to be competitive on. It's the culture, the management style, some of the work-life balance issues. Those are the things that attract people to employers. And like she said, opportunity for advancement. A lot of people who we seek out that are currently employed, happy in their jobs, will leave because they see an opportunity to have a future. They see opportunities for more responsibility or more moving up. Maybe they're in an organization where they feel like somebody has to retire in order for them to get a promotion.
And so do you pride yourself on working with companies that have a good company culture so that you're not just churning candidates in and out because they're chasing them off?
Absolutely. I would say that most of the companies that we work with, that's what they have in common is they have a very unique culture, and we take the time to get to know that. And you mentioned millennials. Millennials, one of the things they are looking for is companies with strong cultures and with more than just the work. So, for example, an organization that does work in the community, that's going to be very important to millennials. What else am I doing that's going to be able to help my world?
Wow. Well, this is great. We're out of time for this segment. We're going to have you back again. Give us your website.
RischResults.com.
And spell that for us.
RischResults.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the
Jeff.
Jeff Crilley Show.
I appreciate the opportunity.
When we come back, you don't have to go to Hollywood to become a star. You can stay right here in Dallas, Texas. A company that is making stars every day is next on the Jeff Crilley Show.
More of the Jeff Crilley Show coming up.